I'm not really sure um, as far as black women, being here in the United States and living here. I'm not really sure about how this benefits you, because it seems to me like it would be more in your benefit to be in an environment where you are seen as attractive. Move to places where you have the upper hand. You have the power. So, if that's Africa, then move to Africa. Because if you think about it, African Americans, we do have our own look, okay? And even though some of us do look a lot like some African people over in Africa, we still have our own distinctive features because of slavery. Most of us are mixed up at least in the 7 to 15% range of mixed race. And so that's going to give us a slightly different look than we looked when we first came over here on the ships way back when. Okay, now we have our own distinctive features. So you will stand out if you were to go and live in Africa. It might not be a whole lot, but they're still going to be able to tell just from the way you talk and your looks that you're not from there. And that's a gift. That's going to give you the upper hand over some situations over there. Because let's just face it, we learned in living here in the United States that being different, standing out, puts you at the top of the list for desire. Especially we learned that with black men and white women, or black men and non-black women. We learned that with them, right? So that teaches us as black American women and mixed race women that we need to be we need to position ourselves in environments that are more in our favor. And living here in the United States, I can't see it happening for the majority of us out here. So, if I was in my 20s, my major goal, I would either be planning to move to Africa or Brazil, one or the other. I would visit both countries, and then I would make a decision. Okay, and I would spend probably a couple of years in each country, off and on, going back and forth. 3 months here, then back in the United States for a couple of months, then back over another 2 months, then back home. I would do it like that, and then I would write down how I felt with each trip and each country that I visit. I would get to learn the culture, and I would start taking measures to get out of the United States. And then when I felt where I would be in a position to make that move, I would try to combine myself with other people that have the same interests. and then eventually move to my place of destination. Okay, because you never ever want to go somewhere by yourself. You want to be connected in with other people who have the same goals as you. Okay, so that when you arrive at your destination, you have people that you have people that are in the same situation as you, and you want to keep in contact with them so that somebody knows where you are at all times. Okay, but I think it would be in the best interest for young African American women that are in the United States, that are in your 20s, 30s, and even 40s, and even early 50s, to take measures to relocate out of the United States, because it's just not working out. It hasn't worked out forever, and it just be in your best interest, if you can afford it, to start taking measures to leave, start taking measures to prepare to relocate, because you need to live in a place where you are comfortable, where you are accepted, where you are not looked down upon, and you are the last option by birth. That you should never ever put yourself into situations like that if you have any kind of control. If you have control of your life, if you are in a situation where you're placed down at the bottom, nobody's checking for you, nobody is, wanting to date you or marry you, you need to relocate to a place where you are going to be accepted in, you are going to fit in, you are going to feel comfortable in your surroundings, and the people are going to accept you more. Don't ever settle for living in a place where you are looked down upon just for being born in this environment. Your whole life is already predetermined to be in a failure state. So if you can relocate, if you think that you can do much better in another country, if you have education that can carry you and get you a good job, I strongly suggest relocating for African American and mixed race women. You need to be in environments where you are going to enjoy your life, because living in this environment, I've been single for most of my life, and the reason why is because I've been living. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm back. Okay, but I don't think that you should be living in environments that you're not really accepted. Because I spent my whole life living in an environment where there's not that many black people, for one. And the few black people that live out here, the black men, nearly all of them went for non-black women. And so my chances of actually dating a black man were pretty much at zero. And most of my life I have spent as a single woman because of it. Doesn't have anything to do with the way I look, because I'm fairly nice looking. Especially in my younger days, I was a lot more attractive than I am now. But even now, I'm still pretty attractive. I would be a little more attractive if I lost a few pounds here and there. But, and I'm working on it. I'm not in a rush though, because I'm not really trying to, I would like to lose weight for my health, but not really to attract anyone, because right now I'm at a time in my life where I'm very comfortable with being single. But for younger women who do want to attract a mate and have plans on having children, I think it would be in your best interest to relocate outside of the United States if it's possible. And if it's not possible, then I would recommend moving to a state where there's a black population, but you have to be very careful where you move, because you don't want to live in an environment where there's a large crime rate, where the STD rates are extremely high, and where there's a lot of homosexuality. So you got to be very, very careful where you live. You want to be very careful to choose environments where the black people are more in your favor. Like if you're upper middle class or middle class, educated, you don't really consider yourself from Blackistan or anything like that. You got your head on your shoulders pretty well, and you just want to get married, but you don't really want to leave the United States. I would recommend moving to a place like Maryland, Boston, maybe Washington, D.C. I mean, not D.C., the state of Washington, although there are a lot of mixed race couples out there, so just be aware of that. And it's a lot of black men with white women, so just so you know. But Washington is and we're talking the state of Washington. It's a very beautiful place to live because of all the mountains that they got out there, the hills. It's very beautiful out there, very green, okay? But it rains a lot out there. Hold on. Lord. Okay, so sorry guys, I was interrupted. But I think that it would be very wise for the young population to live in areas where your chances of finding someone, if that's what you want, are going to be more in your favor. Okay? And it needs to be an area where the people are upper middle class. Okay? Because you don't want to move to a Blackistan area that's going to put you in a very high crime rate area. You don't want to live in areas like that, because you're going to have to watch every move you make. You're going to have to walk on eggshells. So you don't want to live in just any area. It has to be, you really have to focus on the class of people that you want to live in, and it needs to be a upper middle class or upper class type of environment, so that you feel safe and you're around higher end educated people. Okay? Because living in just any area can put you in a lot of danger, and you don't want to do that. You really, really have to be careful and with where you live. And this even applies to black women that want to live in other parts of the world. Even if you relocate to another part of the world, you want to be very, very careful about where you live. This is why it's very important to visit these areas, learn about where you're living, learn about the classification of the people of where you want to live are at. What are they classified as far as the cost? What are they, higher end? Are they more middle? Or are they lower end people? Okay, because you want to stay as far away from lower end people as possible, because that's going to have a lot to do with the type of people that you meet, and the type of class of people that you meet. You don't want to be around lower end people. It's just too hard to, even though the cost of living is a lot more affordable, there's a reason for that. Okay, you don't want to put yourself in very dangerous environments to where you're going to have to walk on eggshells just to live there. Okay, especially if you're a single woman. And again, this is anywhere that you decide you want to live. If you want to go to France, you're going to have to do the same thing. Don't assume that just because you're going to a different part of the world, and it might be Europe, that wherever you live is going to be a decent place just because, the majority of the people over there are white. Don't ever assume that, because white lower end people are also very dangerous to live around, and you don't want to be in those types of surroundings. Okay. Let's see, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? I think I have covered it for now. But yeah. If I had money, if I had a higher educational background than what I have, I would have been done left this place a long time ago. I live in a very white environment, and my dating options have been horrible because I'm not really interested in white men. They're not really interested in me. And so, and the few black men that are out here, nearly all of them are with non-black women, almost every last one of them. And as far as Mexican and Asian men go, I've never ever had one of them ever come up to me and ask me out on a date, ever. It's never ever happened. Okay, they won't look in my direction. I did date a guy from Mexico when I was in my, I think, early 40s, maybe late 30s. I dated him for a little while, and it was okay. He was very, very nice looking, dark-skinned, Aboriginal-looking Mexican guy, but the only problem with that was there was a language barrier. He couldn't speak very good English, and I couldn't speak very good Spanish, so I ended up ending that relationship because of the language barrier. But I would have loved to have seen where it would have went if we were both speaking the same language. I think that I might have ended up marrying him because he was very, very handsome, very nice looking guy, and he was a construction worker. So those are the same traits that my grandfather had. My grandfather was very nice looking. He was also dark skinned and also a construction worker. So that might have worked. That might have been, a very good match because, that's practically who raised me. It was the same type of thing. But as far as Americanized Mexican men, we're not really attracted to each other because they are a lot more whiter skinned, and I'm not really attracted to white guys. I'm not really attracted to light skinned Mexican guys as much. I've seen one in my entire life, maybe two, that I thought was really, really handsome. But outside of that, I'm just really not into them like that. And they're not really into black females like that either. So that part, that, American Mexican guys just don't work for me. And as far as Asian men go, the percentage out here is not very high. So Now, if we're talking about Asian men as far as Indian men, yeah, I did fairly well with that end of it. But if we're talking about Oriental Asian men, I've never dated one, ever. Now, East Indian men, I've had my fair share of them, okay? And so that went fairly well. And I have always been attracted to them for as far back as I can remember. And again, I think that has to do with being raised by my grandfather, because my grandfather kind of looks like he kind of looks similar to East Indian men, and so that could be why I took an interest in them, because there's always that rumor that whoever raises you, you tend to go for men that kind of favor your father image, the guy who raised you, and so that could be why I was kind of attracted to East Indian men. I think it has a little bit to do with that, other than the fact that they're just attractive to me. I like their skin, I like their culture, I like their hair, I like the way they look. And I'm not talking about each and every one of them, I'm just talking about the ones that I'm attracted to. They just have always been attractive to me for as far back as I can remember. Okay, and again, that might have to have something to do with my grandfather raising me, because as I just said, girls that are raised, with a father image in the house or with their fathers in the home, they usually tend up to marry guys similar to their father. Okay, and since my grandfather raised me, maybe that could be why my attraction with East Indian men was kind of high. That could be why. All right, so that's pretty much all I want to talk to you guys about as far as on that end goes. I think if my father had, my biological father, I think if he had raised me, I might be more into mulatto men, because my father, my actual biological father, he didn't raise me, because him and my mom got a divorce, and then he went and got remarried and raised another family. And so even though we did stay in touch with each other throughout the years, I would go and visit him and stuff like that. He still didn't really raise me. I went and lived with him for a little while, and that was a real nice experience. But then, my mom actually brought me back home, and then, I just kind of ended up just living with her again. And so, but I think that if my father had raised me, there is a possibility that I probably would have been more into and attracted to mulatto men, because my father is actually a mulatto. Maybe that could be, because I was attracted to them to a certain extent, but then when I saw that 90% of them only go for Hispanic women, Hispanic/Latino women, when I saw that and realized that kind of was a turnoff for me, and so I just kind of marked them off of my list as far as men being available for me. Because once I see that you're not with girls in my image a whole lot, I don't really count you on my list as available men. And the environment that I grew up in, a lot of mulatto men just did not date mulatto females like that. Most of the girls that they went for were Hispanic/Latino type women. That's all I ever saw them with. And so I just marked them off my list for availability of men that were available to me, because I never seen them with mulatto girls growing up. I just didn't see it a whole lot. Okay. And with my grandfather being married to my black grandmother, I grew up mysteriously, being attracted to East Indian men, and had no problem getting them either. That's kind of odd, isn't it? Well, my grandmother was black, and my grandfather was Mexican, and so considering the fact that a lot of Mexican men didn't really go for light-skinned mulatto girls, for some reason East Indian men, I didn't really have a problem getting them. Very, very attracted to them. They had the beautiful dark brown skin that my grandfather had, and I just did not have a problem attracting them, and I still don't. If I'm in an environment and I see one that I like, even today I can still pull him if he's single. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to know and understand how you have to see life out here. You have to make it work for you. And if you're in any type of environment where it's not working for you, get out of that environment. Because the biggest mistake I made in my life was staying here in this state that I'm living. And as a result of it, most of my life I've been single. Okay? Because I'm not attracted to the men that live out here. Most of them are white men. Most of them are white men. I'm not really into them like that. I can get along with white guys, on average pretty good, but I'm just not attracted to them. And so, and likewise, they're not really attracted to me either. None of them have come up to me asking me on dates. Now, there's about a handful of them that did show me quite a bit of attention and did let me know that they would be available to date me, but I just was not into them like that. I just wasn't. So you're attracted to whoever you're attracted to, and that's just the bottom line. Okay. And, I did date a few black guys in my younger days, like in my teens and early 20s, prior to me getting married. I dated, a handful, but I don't really think black men some of them are attractive, but the majority of them just are not that attractive to me. And I think that maybe I'm not really attracted, maybe I'm not really attractive to them either. So it just didn't really work out with black men for me. But when it comes to African men, I was very much attracted to them. And I actually married one. And he was very, very nice looking. And I stayed married to him for a little while. And then we got a divorce. And I haven't been married since. And I think a lot of that has to do with me living in a predominantly white state here in the United States, where my look is just not desirable. And if I had the money to leave, I would have left years ago, but I just did not have the money to get out of here. And so this is why I cannot stress for black girls out there, black and mulatto girls, I cannot stress enough for you guys to get out of environments where you are not at the top of the desire list, because if you stay in environments like that, you're going to be overlooked for most of your life. Okay? And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you in another video. Thank you.